Around the year 1600, in a distant kingdom lived a fearsome and powerful warlord, Solomon Kane. But he wasn't just a warrior, he was a relentless visionary, a man obsessed with one to conquer every empire on earth. In his heart, there was no love for his kingdom, only greed, pride, and an insatiable hunger for power. One day, without warning, he launched a brutal and well-planned assault on the mighty Ottoman Empire. Suleiman and his elite army tore through the Ottoman defenses like a lightning storm, slicing into the empire's core. On their path, they stumbled upon a wounded soldier. Suleiman looked him straight in the eye and asked in a cold, trembling voice, "Where's the throne?" Terrified, the soldier revealed the path to that cursed place. Suleiman set off, taking only his finest men. But as they entered the palace, they were met with a strange, haunting sight. On either side of the grand hallway, rows and rows of ancient mirrors. But these were no ordinary mirrors. Inside them lived something else. Demons. Eyes full of emptiness and hate. One by one, the demons emerged, black, shadowy creatures, and they began pulling Suleiman's soldiers into a world beyond this one. But Suleiman showed not a flicker of fear. His heart was focused on one, the throne. Finally, he reached the inner chamber. There it was, the ancient throne of the Ottoman king. But the moment he stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind him. He slowly turned around, and there, seated on the throne, was a skeleton. A dead king. No flesh, just bones, surrounded by mountains of gold, jewels, and untold riches. Suleiman's eyes gleamed. He couldn't hold back. Greed took over. He stepped forward and reached for the treasure. But just then, everything began to change. Thick black smoke spread through the room. The air grew heavy, each breath a struggle. And before his eyes, the skeleton began to transform. Bone by bone, it started to take shape into a new creature, a monster. Now seated on the throne was a giant, terrifying figure, eyes burning like fire. In a deep, echoing voice it said, "I've come for your soul, Suleiman." But Suleiman didn't flinch. He didn't step back. Instead, he got angry. With a roar, he drew his sword and charged at the beast. And so began a fierce battle. Each strike of the sword shook the very air. The chamber trembled, but this demon, it wasn't like any other enemy. Each of its blows felt like the force of 1,000 soldiers. Still, Suleiman didn't give up. He fought with everything he had. But soon, he realized this was a battle he couldn't win. To survive, he made a desperate run straight for a large window. With one final breath, he shattered the glass and leapt out, diving into the sea below. 5 years passed. The world may have changed, but Suleiman had changed even more. Deep within, he was no longer the same aggressive warrior. Now he served quietly in an old church of a small town. One day, the priest approached him and said in a calm voice, "Suleiman, it's true that you've returned to the path of good, but remember, some curses cannot be erased by prayers or kind deeds alone. You must do something more." These words stirred something deep inside Suleiman. He didn't know what to do or where to go, but his heart knew. Whatever it took, he had to wipe away the stain of his sins, even if only once in this life. So one day, he left the church behind, beginning a journey in search of unknown redemption. Days passed as he walked endlessly without rest. Eventually, he arrived at a strange village where people were cremating a dead body. The air was filled with smoke, sorrow, and the smell of burning flesh. Suleiman sat beneath a shadowy tree to rest. But that moment of peace didn't last long. Suddenly, a group of thieves attacked him, beating him with sticks and stabbing him with knives. As he was struck repeatedly, he lost consciousness. In that darkness, the screen of his memories began to open. He saw his childhood again. Back then, his family had decided that all the property would go to his elder brother, Marcus. And Suleiman was dead, destined to become a priest. He couldn't accept that fate. So one night, without telling anyone, he ran away from home. When he woke up, he found a few villagers treating his wounds. That kindness, he had almost forgotten what it felt like. That night, he fell into a deep sleep. But even in sleep, the past wouldn't leave him alone. He remembered the horrifying day when Marcus had taken a young woman to the edge of a cliff and started hurting her. Suleiman intervened. They fought, and in a moment of blind rage, Suleiman pushed Marcus. That one push sent him over the cliff, and he never came back. Suleiman woke up from his sleep. In the morning, he met the leader of the camp, an elderly gentleman named William. Suleiman told him everything, his crimes, his regrets, his pain. "I know I've committed great sins," he said, "but now, from the bottom of my heart, I want to be free. I want to change." William looked at him and said softly, "What you're feeling, that's true remorse. So follow what you truly believe is right and give it your all." At dawn the next day, Suleiman began his journey again, but this time he wasn't alone. William's family had joined him. They were warm, kind, and full of love. Suleiman began to realize people still know how to love. Together, they crossed many roads. One day, they arrived at a dry, lifeless valley. The scene was horrifying. Hundreds of dead bodies scattered across the land, all of them twisted and killed in unnatural ways. Then Suleiman noticed a little girl crying in the corner, right in the middle of the corpses. They rushed to rescue her, but soon after questioning her, her behavior changed. Her eyes burned with fire. Her scream tore through the sky, and the horrifying truth was revealed. This little girl was the witch who had slaughtered everyone in that village. She let out a terrifying scream. The air grew thick. Darkness spread, and in a flash, she lunged at everyone around her, ripping them apart with brutal, merciless blows. But just when everyone was preparing for the final fight, she stopped. There was a strange smile in her eyes, and in the very next moment, she vanished into thin air without a sound. No one knew where she went. No one could understand why she had stopped. But the question, had she been defeated, or was this the beginning of something far more terrifying? They continued their journey, but fate had other plans. A thunderous roar split the sky, and from that crack emerged a fearsome figure, Malachi, a dark sorcerer whose eyes held the screams of the helpless and whose shadow meant death itself. Malachi attacked like a storm. No one was prepared. His dark magic unleashed rivers of fire. One by one, the family members were thrown into chaos. Many took their last breath. And in that chaos, a brutal moment unfolded. Malachi kidnapped a young girl named Meredith, whose eyes had just seen her mother and father die. A pain rose from the depths of her chest, something deep, something she could no longer suppress. Once Suleiman had sworn never to stain his hands with blood again, never to touch a sword. But now the silence was unbearable. Without wasting a second, Suleiman set out again. Along the road, a group of soldiers ambushed him, but in his hands were two guns. With cold precision, he fired, taking them down one by one as he moved forward. After a long and brutal journey, he arrived at a village. He discovered that the people there had been imprisoned by the sorcerer Malachi. Suleiman showed them a picture of Meredith and asked, "Have you seen this girl?" But not one of them could give a clear answer. Still searching, he reached a church. There, Suleiman opened up to the priest, told him everything. In return, the priest revealed several secrets about Malachi. He said Malachi was a man who always wore a mask, and his ultimate goal was to turn every single human into a demon. The priest then showed Suleiman a hidden bunker where he had locked away dozens of demons. Suleiman examined it carefully, but then, without warning, the priest pushed him from behind and locked him inside the bunker. Suddenly, Suleiman was surrounded, forced into battle with the very demons that had been imprisoned. One by one, he took them down. With sheer will and deadly skill, he destroyed them all. If emerging through the back gate of the bunker, he found himself face to face with a group of thieves, the same ones who had once attacked him. And here, we discover the twist. They were all working for Malachi. And this is where the true twist of the story begins. A massive fight broke out between Suleiman and the thieves. With intense fury, he defeated them all, sending them to the afterlife. From the last surviving thief, he asked a question burning in his "Where is Meredith?" The answer shattered him. She was already dead. Killed by the demons, Suleiman broke down. His heart couldn't take it. He gave up hope and began to drown himself in alcohol. Some time passed. Two of Suleiman's old companions arrived, but he didn't even respond to them. Lost in grief, he drank more, haunted by the fact that he couldn't save Meredith. At dawn, Malachi attacked the village. Once again, he began punishing innocent people without reason, without mercy. Suleiman, devastated by Meredith's loss, did nothing. He simply wanted to die. The villagers were crucified, nails driven into their hands and feet. Suleiman was among them, and for an entire day, he hung there in excruciating pain. Meanwhile, a group of Malachi's soldiers were escorting villagers through the main road. Among them was Meredith. She was alive. The soldier had lied. From the distance, Meredith saw Suleiman and cried out his name. Her voice reached him. He saw her, and hope returned to his eyes. With new strength, he ripped the nails from his hands and freed himself. Malachi's soldiers tried to attack, but Suleiman's old companions had been waiting. They struck with force and took them down. They brought Suleiman into a safe room, treated his wounds, and helped him recover. Once fully healed, his allies told him the truth. Meredith was alive, but taken. Malachi had taken the throne after imprisoning Suleiman's father, and now the people were being tortured. Every day, Suleiman and his companions set out toward the royal palace through a secret underground tunnel. Upon entering the palace, the first to greet them was the witch, the same one who had once attacked Suleiman. Shocked and furious, Suleiman threw his sword at her, and just like that, the battle began. They fought fiercely, but suddenly Malachi arrived, masked, powerful, unstoppable. A battle erupted. In the midst of chaos, Suleiman slipped away. Determined to find Meredith, he moved through hidden tunnels and eventually reached the dungeon. There she was, locked away. Just then, a soldier attacked from behind. Suleiman struck back, defeated him, and freed all the prisoners. That's when he saw a frail old man chained in the corner. As he got closer, he realized it was his father. He'd been locked away for years, tortured, forgotten. Suleiman rushed to free him, but the chains were sealed with dark magic. In tears, he apologized. He confessed his sins, said he left the kingdom to escape the guilt of killing his own brother. But then his father revealed the truth. Suleiman hadn't killed his brother. His brother had survived the fall from the cliff, but his face had been horribly injured. It was beyond healing, and since then, he had worn a mask to hide the scars. The truth hit Suleiman like lightning. Malachi was his brother, his own blood. His father explained, if there was any hope of ending this nightmare, Suleiman had to kill him. Only then could the spell be broken. Only then would the sorcerer disappear. Suleiman, heartbroken, agreed. With trembling hands, he pulled the trigger, and his father passed on, finally free. Gripping two swords, Suleiman marched forward toward Malachi. At the giant gates of the palace, he stepped inside and found Meredith, once again captured. She begged him, "Don't fight this man, it's a trap." But Suleiman didn't listen. Suleiman looked up and saw the sorcerer seated on his father's throne, the same man who had fought him at the very beginning of this story. With a voice full of fire, Suleiman shouted, "Get off that throne! You don't deserve to sit there. That seat belongs to my father." But the sorcerer didn't move. In rage, Suleiman raised his sword and charged forward, and just like that, the sorcerer vanished. He turned to Meredith, still held captive nearby, and tried to free her once more, but Meredith pleaded, "It's a trap." Just then, Malachi drove a sword straight through his chest. Gasping, Suleiman pulled the blade out and tried to reason with him, saying, "I'm your brother." But Malachi wasn't listening. He attacked again and again. In the chaos, the sorcerer reappeared and revealed a terrifying creature, a monstrous beast, larger than life, one that Suleiman knew he couldn't defeat. Desperate and heartbroken, Suleiman made a choice. He killed his own brother, a tragic end, but the only way forward. Meanwhile, the sorcerer took Meredith's blood and sprinkled it over the monster. The beast roared to life and stormed toward them. Suleiman tried to fight back, dodging, surviving, resisting, and then he did something no one expected. He looked the sorcerer in the eyes and said, "Take my soul instead. Let the girl go." Surprised, the sorcerer laughed. "You'd give your life for her?" Suleiman replied, "I promised her father I'd protect her. That promise means everything." But the sorcerer wasn't moved. He raised his weapon, ready to end her life. That's when Suleiman pulled out his gun. With one perfect shot, he fired straight at the sorcerer's head. The dark wizard screamed in agony. The monster too writhed and collapsed, both of them destroyed, and from deep within, Suleiman, something dark, something evil escaped. A curse lifted, his sins washed away. Exhausted, he collapsed. But when he opened his eyes, Meredith was beside him. Later, Suleiman stood before his father's grave, prayed, and asked for forgiveness. With his father's blessing, he set off once again. And that is where this story ends. How did you like today's tale? Let us know in the comments, and thank you as always for watching.